We are going to learn an important endgame idea in chess called the rule of the square. Okay, this rule helps us quickly decide whether a king can catch a pawn that is trying to promote. As you can see on your screen, this pawn is trying to promote on the square g8, and we are supposed to determine if this king, which is on a6, catch this pawn over here. Okay. In this position, where there is only one pawn running towards promotion and the opponent's king will try to stop it, instead of counting every move carefully and calculating the moves, we can use a simple visual rule called as the rule of the square. Okay, first look at the pawn and count how many squares it needs to reach the promotion square on the last rank. That is, for this pawn, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Basically, this pawn needs 4 squares, right? So, this pawn needs 4 squares to reach the promotional square. Then we imagine a square that is 4 square wide and 4 square tall. That is, if we go from here diagonally on the last rank, which is our promotional rank, and try to create a square from this point, that is the safe square for the pawn. Okay. Now, can you see the position of the pawn? This is an imaginary square, goes from the pawn straight forward to the promotion square. Okay, and then extends the same number of squares, that is, see, 4 number of squares here, 4 number of squares here, right? And 4 number of squares here. I hope that's clear, isn't it? So in the other words, the distance the pawn needs to reach the promotional square is the same size the square becomes. Okay, so there is a 4 square distance in the whole square, right? Now we check the position of the king. This is my king, right? Now, is the king inside this box, okay, or outside this box? As we can see here, if the king is inside the box, that is even on this square, then the king can easily catch the pawn before it can promote, okay? The king has enough time to move forward to the pawn and eventually stop it from promoting, okay? But what if the king is outside? Or catch the pawn. Okay, as we can see, the king is outside the square. This is a square, right? Counting from the diagonal the number of squares. The king is outside this box. We can see here, right? Then the pawn will successfully reach the last rank, that is this one, and he can promote itself, okay? Usually to a queen, okay? One important thing to remember is that the rule of the square works no matter whose turn it is, okay? King's move, the rule still helps us determine whether the king can reach the pawn in the time or not, okay? I hope you understood. So also let us remember the key ideas, okay? So first of all, count how many number of squares the pawn needs to reach the promotion. Okay, over here we need 4 squares. Second, imagine a square with the same distance, that is 4 number of squares, the same distance we have created a square. Third, check the king's position. If the king is inside the square, like over here, then it can capture the pawn. If the king is outside the square over here, then it cannot catch the pawn, okay? This is called the rule of the square, and it is one of the most useful tools for understanding the pawn races, and it is used widely in the end game to save the time to calculate the moves, whether the pawn can be captured by the king while promoting or not.